you know, I should really work on being more patient. But that'd probably take a while. And ain't nobody got time for that.
This leads us to the second point in Venerable Teresita's Code of Amiability, to repress any sign of impatience at the very start. Most of us, if you're anything like me, are not quite there yet, not as patient as you'd like to be. So, this is kind of hopeful because Venerable Teresita is saying to repress any sign of impatience. So, like me, you might be dying inside, with impatience, but you are repressing that and looking rather calm, like you're being very patient, right? So it's hopeful. You can follow this part of the code, where inside you're struggling a lot, but outside you look calm and cool.
Just don't let the veins bulge out of your neck.
Well, what are some signs of impatience besides those veins bulging out of your neck?
Sighing, rolling the eyes,
huffing,
drumming the fingers, tapping the toes, bouncing the knee.
Maybe looking away, like you're not listening because you're impatient. Crossing your arms. Yeah, there's all sorts of things. Maybe even
interrupting, cutting people off, like
words that you might use, like "come on," or "let's go already." Right? I do this well because sadly I've lived a life of impatience. Cutting you off, right? Not letting your spouse speak. Looking away when they're talking to you because you're kind of being impatient there.
Yeah.
So all of those are signs of I'm sure there are more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And some of that can be, signs of contempt or other stuff too. But it can also be a sign of impatience. Yeah.
So these are things you want to watch for in your own communication with your spouse. If you find yourself using them, let them be a little red flag to say, hey, you're being impatient. Try to work on that. Try to watch for them and repress them, right? So how do we repress these? For me, I honestly will say in my head, I'll kind of talk to myself in my mind. I'll be saying, because I really, I have these emotions or these feelings just, storm inside of me. But I'm actively in my head saying, don't say anything, just look calm, listen, focus on what Greg is saying. And, and actually listen, I'm actually talking to myself in my head saying, just do it. Just listen. Don't say anything. Bite your tongue and smile if I can, like we've said in past posts.
Yeah.
How about you? How do you take care of that?
Yeah, I just, it's a really uncomfortable feeling and I just, try to ignore it, we take it till you make it, but, work on making it. And, that's a good thing, right? Like if we want to grow in patience, we pray for that. It doesn't just drop out of the sky. I'm magically more patient now. It's that we are provided with opportunities to act patiently when we don't feel like it. And that's actually how we become more patient, is by doing exactly that.
That's a good point. So that helps us to keep a perspective on things. These times don't just come out of nowhere. These are trials that God allows for us to grow in patience. So it's a good perspective to have, because you can be sitting there thinking, I'm dying out of, lack of patience here. You could be thinking, wait a minute, God allowed this so that maybe I can struggle and try to practice that patience that he wants me to practice, right?
Yeah, kind of like building a muscle, right?
Yeah.
Got to exercise it.
So when we're talking to our spouse, the ideal is to listen with a humble kind of listening, something that you're thinking about their good and as though you're talking to Christ himself. This second point, again, says to repress any sign of impatience at the very start. Why does Teresita specify at the very start?
Well, if I do that before we start saying anything, I've already got us off on the bad track, right?
That's right. If I see you rolling your eyes at me, I'm going to think, oh boy. And it's going to just, it's going to go downhill from there probably.
Yeah, right. That's the point is that, your spouse shouldn't know that, that you're struggling with that temptation, right? So when you're talking to your spouse, you don't want to show that you're struggling with that particular temptation, at least not at the time of the conversation, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
Right. Just let them you want to pay full attention, and so just do your best to do that, and let them see that.
Okay. One of the reasons that I show impatience is because I really want you to know that, I'm frustrated, that I'm waiting for you. What's a better way to handle that? Maybe, I mean, does it help if I let you know, that I'm struggling, or what's a good way to handle that situation? I guess just repress the impatience, right?
Yeah, maybe bring it up later at a later time, right? Like, we've talked about that it's good to let our spouse know what our temptations are.
Okay.
But at the time, yeah, just work on the patience itself. I think another thing that can make difficult is suppose you ask me a question or there's an issue and I'm just talking on and on and on and on. Especially if, let's say, I started with something that's not quite right. It's hard to sit there and wait through all that. Or if you ask a question about one thing and I answer that and then go on to another subject, and never give you a chance to talk, I feel
It's
like
easier
that
for
would
me
be
to
sort
be
of that's
temptation
providing
for me
fuel
to
for the
be.
temptation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So to avoid that, you just
Yeah. Just try to stay focused and keep the answers short, sweet, to the point. Avoid repetition.
or if you see that I'm trying to say something, maybe
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
cut your answer.
Allow it. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds
Sounds
great.
good.
And I guess with everything else, like we always say, ask God for help. This is a marriage of one spouse, another, husband, wife, and God.
Right.
So allow His grace to help you.
Right.
And,
He didn't just join us and then we're on our own. Like, he wants it to work too, right? So
yeah.
ask for that. So we invite you to give this a try. Be act patiently, even though you might not feel like it, and that'll actually make you more patient. So give it a shot, see how it works. I think you'll like what you see over time. And we'll see you next time.